thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate you having you here. This is our third segment or series in the Community Conversations, and today we have Tim Kelly with Downtown Grand Rapids Incorporated.
Hey everybody.
For those of you that I don't know, I'm Monica Steinley, Director of Development for 616 Development, and we wanted Tim to come here today to talk about GR Forward. And I don't know how many of you have heard of or been part of the 16-month process so far. So is there anybody that's kind of gone through the whole process or understand a lot about it? Yes? So probably, okay, quite a few people. So Tim's gonna bring us up to date so far on how the process so far, where we are with the draft plan right now. He's going to talk about some highlights of that plan. Also, we're going to go on next to talk about the public process moving forward. There's an open process for getting public opinion. Also, the approval process through the city, and then also how implementation works. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I know you've kind of given this speech and been through this process for the last couple of years, so thanks for doing it again.
No problem.
Can you give us just kind of a rundown on the process so far, where the draft plan is right now, and the highlights of what's come out of that process?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks again for having me, everyone. So as Monica mentioned, this process really started back in April of 2014. And the reason we started it was because, as you all well know, if you have lived in Grand Rapids for a while, downtown is a very different place. There's been a lot of investment over the past 10 to 15 years, and we wanted to have a plan in place that was reflective of where we are today. So the plan that we're kind of updating was approved back in 1993, just to give you a sense of how long we've kind of been working with the existing document. So where the process started was really just doing an analysis and trying to understand where we are today. So we did some data gathering, some existing conditions analysis, looking at things like what is the mix of housing in downtown, what are our great retail anchors, trying to understand what some of our other institutions are, how do our streets function, are they still working well for us, transportation, is that working as well as it could, are there areas of improvement there? And so we started looking at all of those different components and getting a sense of where we were. And then we went through this community engagement process that Monica kind of gave or alluded to, where we wanted to ask the question of where do we want to go? So we've come a long way in the past 20 or so years, but there's a lot of energy going on right now in Grand Rapids, particularly around thinking about our riverfront, how we can incorporate that more into our city. So asked the question through this visioning process, and we asked the question in multiple ways. So we had some traditional community engagement exercises where we had neighborhood meetings. We went to a lot of elementary schools and had discussions with people in kind of a PTA style setting. But we also wanted to think about other ways to get people involved. So we set up an open house downtown at 50 Lewis Street, so the old Lee and Birch space. It was vacant at the time, and we converted that into kind of a project headquarters where people could stop in, learn about the plan. They could also start to provide us feedback on all those areas I mentioned, so the river, transportation, housing, all of those things. We also we had a speaker series, so a downtown speaker series where people would we brought in experts from around the country that have dealt with these some of the elements in the plan in different scales and different settings around the country and around the world, just to kind of help us elevate the discourse around some of these issues. And then we did community-wide forums, where those are the big meetings where you invite everyone to come down, show them what you've been doing along the way. So all that's to say is, we've had a lot of conversations with people. To date, we've had about 3,700 people participate in the process through a different means. But we take all that information then, and then we start to, we develop a vision statement, and then we start to identify goals, strategies, and recommendations for how to actually achieve the vision. So that's kind of a very 30,000 level foot view of how this process works. Where we are today is, we've gone through the engagement process, we've come up with some recommendations, and what we have now is a draft plan. So I've pulled out a few pages of a presentation with some of those elements in there for you all to look at. But the draft plan is, as the name suggests, a draft. So there's still some work to do, but this is just showing you kind of a snapshot of where we are, what we've heard throughout this process, and where some of this stuff might be leading us in the future.
Can you talk a little bit about that as far as like who's been leading the process? Obviously, DGRI has had an involvement and there's been public involvement, but who's been leading the process through that?
Yep. So this actually started as just a downtown plan. We thought it would just be focused on downtown. The effort has actually kind of grown quite a bit as we talked about, the rivers. There's been a lot of thinking around the river in the city for a long time. And so the city of Grand Rapids is helping to lead that. And then we also, which is very unique for a planning process, we have this partnership with Grand Rapids Public Schools, where they're doing some facility planning for Innovation Central High, so up there at College and Union. And then also looking at the museum school, so that's a venture between GRPS, the Van Andel Public Museum, where they're actually going to host students down at the public museum starting in the fall of this year. So all those components are in the plan. GRPS is helping to obviously lead that, the GRPS component. DGRI and the city are leading the other efforts. And then we're fortunate to work with a group of experts and consultants that have various specialties in all these areas to help kind of guide us through the process.
And then out of the process and as part of the draft plan, I believe there are five areas that people want to see things happen. Is it? I don't know if it's five. I think so. I'm making that number up.
But yeah,
six.
You're close.
There's six.
Sorry.
So can you highlight maybe what those areas are?
Yep. So through the engagement and through the conversations, some major themes emerged pretty early on. First one has to do with the river. So we want the river to kind of become a new draw for the city and for downtown. We also want it to be connected better into the neighborhood. So one of the things I think we all know intuitively, but what people kind of reiterated to us was that the river feels disconnected, and in addition, downtown feels disconnected from a lot of other neighborhoods in the city. So we want to kind of reestablish those connections and kind of reknit the river and downtown into the fabric of the city. The second goal has to do with downtown and creating a diverse neighborhood. We heard a lot about, people want to see more things in downtown. There's obviously a lot to do here. We've come a long way over the years, but people want to see more things, whether it's events, whether it's, programs and amenities on the river, whether it's more housing, whether it's a grocery store, transit options, all of those things. So people want to see more things in downtown, and we think that in order to achieve some of that, to get more investment, that we need more people living here. That's one of the things that we hear most from developers and from other investors,
yes.
That you need people, you need
More
kind
people.
of that critical mass of people to get that neighborhood feel and to start to see some large-scale investments. Third has to do with transportation and mobility. And really the takeaway there is that we want to provide different ways for people to get around. Whether you want to drive, walk, take transit, take a bike, we want it to be easy for people to do that. So we're looking at ways to enhance our existing assets, including parking facilities, but also looking at the dash system. Can that work more like a true downtown circulator? Can we partner with the Rapid and look at some other transportation options? Then of course bike lanes is kind of a big theme and topic on people's minds these days. People want to be able to bike in an urban environment, because a lot of times it's quicker than having to go get your car, drive, park, then walk to wherever you got to go. So we think we have some opportunities there. The fourth goal has to do with economic development. So having a great riverfront, having people living in downtown is great, but everyone needs to work. They need jobs. We want to keep sight of that. People tell us that, especially some of the entrepreneurs in town, that there's not a lot of cheap space in downtown to grow into. So a lot of startups can get going and get to 1, 3, 5 employees, but as they kind of mature and grow and get to 10, 15, 20, there's not a lot of space for them in downtown. We want to make sure that we're able to keep those companies and those great entrepreneurs. So we're looking at strategies to preserve space, whether it's in downtown or just adjacent in some of the nearby neighborhoods. We want to provide opportunities for companies to grow and to stay in Grand Rapids. We also want to provide opportunities for people that live here now to get the education and skills that they need, so that they can grow into some of the jobs that are here and that job providers tell us that they can't fill just because of some of the skills gap. Fifth goal, I'm almost there, I promise. Fifth goal has to do with public space and programming. So we want to provide more events for people that are diverse and that are welcoming to everyone. We want to we want to embrace the fact that we have winter here, that, you know, there's snow, we have 4 seasons. We want to provide ways for people to get outside and have fun when it's, you know, 15, 20 degrees in January and February. So looking at ways to get creative with winter programming, and then also just kind of raising the profile and enhancing some of the public spaces that we do have. We're sitting out front of, you know, Monument Park right now, which has done a lot to kind of enhance this area and some of the investment going on here. Some of the other things that people talk a lot about, Calder Plaza, for one, is always pointed to as, you know, it's a great icon for the city, but is there an opportunity to make that more of an asset on the day-to-day basis, so that, you know, people could go there and hang out and do something when there's not a big event going on. And then the last one is related to public schools. So we believe that having access to high-quality education is a staple of any livable city. So we want to use that. We want to use public schools, the investments that GRPS has been making, as a way to attract and retain people to Grand Rapids. So those are kind of the 6 highlights. Within each of those broad goals, there's a host of strategies and recommendations. I actually counted them on Friday, and there are 98 recommendations followed by 248 action steps. So there's a lot of content, but they all fall within those 6 buckets in some way, shape, or form.
One of the things I really appreciate about GR Forward is that as a developer, we obviously we've been focused on Center City, Grand Rapids, but also nearby neighborhoods, and you know, you start to see a lot of different plans out there for different business corridors, different neighborhoods. And the nice thing about GR Forward, even aside from just being a downtown plan, is it really incorporates a lot of the area plans that are in place and really works well with neighborhoods and with how everything kind of works together and connects. And so that's been a great deal to be part of that process. So.
Yeah, and that was, you know, something we heard early on was, I think in the past, a lot of the thinking in downtown, you know, maybe didn't reach out into the neighborhoods as much as it could. And so we wanted to be very intentional, recognizing that downtown is for everyone. It's a lot of people's second neighborhood if you're not fortunate enough to live downtown. But a lot of people consider downtown their second neighborhood. The river, of course, is for everyone in the city. It's not just for those that are able to live or work near it. So we wanted to be very intentional about including the entire city. In some cases, you know, we went to the city of Kentwood. We went to the city of Walker. Like, we wanted to be out in the community, talking to people to get their ideas, because these are amenities that everyone uses.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
I forgot what's next. Oh, public.